This is precisely what Democrats requested for weeks. But Democrats did not score concrete reforms at ICE. Republicans question why Democrats were holding out.
That's, again, Chad Pergram. The Senate vote not long after President Trump announced he'd pay TSA agents who keep working without pay by himself through executive order. But for now, more agents keep not showing up for work, leading to more long airport security lines.
If you're traveling this weekend, please still give yourself time. We don't know just yet.
Tris Sununu heads up the organization Airlines for America and tells Fox
the money doesn't just appear in their accounts because the president signs an executive order or they pass the bill. The back pay probably won't be there. Could be for another week or so.
Back to Congress. The House Ethics Committee has just decided that Congresswoman Sheila Sherfulis McCormick, a Florida Democrat, violated House rules and standards, which could lead Republicans to try to expel Sherfulis McCormick, who is facing criminal charges related to COVID fraud allegations that she denies. It's day 28 of Operation Epic Fury, and the U.S. is considering deploying another 10,000 troops to the Middle East as thousands of Army soldiers and Marines are already on the way. A Fox News poll shows fewer Americans approve of the overall job President Trump is doing, just 41%.
As gas prices rise from a month ago, 64% of registered voters disapprove of the president's performance on Iran. 71% of people disapprove of the handling of inflation. 66% disapprove of the performance on the economy.
That's Edward Lawrence. America's listening to Fox News.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return,
But I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
what do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
I didn't switch to Pure Talk just because I wanted to save 50% off the same 5G service I've been paying twice as much for. I switched because I like the idea of being in business with a wireless company that supports our veterans in a meaningful way. Pure Talk also creates American jobs every day by keeping their entire operation in this country. I appreciate that. If you feel the same, dial pound 250, say micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something.
The station Delaware and Maryland turns to for local news. Here is another Delmarva News Update here on 92.7 WGMD, WGMD.com, and the WGMD app.
Clothing Our Kids says its first ever Stuff the Bus event was a big success. More than 2,100 new school clothing items were collected thanks to strong community support and local sponsors, including Jolly Trolley and the American Legion. Organizers say residents of all ages came out to donate, volunteer, and learn more about the mission, providing new clothing to students in need. The group says the effort helps boost confidence, reduce bullying, and improve school attendance for kids across Sussex County. Snow Hill Police in Maryland are warning drivers to watch out for traffic conditions during this weekend's annual Oyster Festival. The festival is happening on Sunday from noon to 5 p.m. in the downtown area. There will be parking restrictions in place beginning today. The municipal lot across from the old firehouse will also be closed to all parking and traffic. Additional parking restrictions will be in effect over the entire weekend, including the closure of Green Street and Pearl Street to all traffic beginning Sunday morning at 9 a.m. and lasting until 6 that evening. The Lewis City Council has passed its upcoming operational budget proposal, which includes a predicted drop in revenue of about 3.2%, but no property tax increases. Spending, however, is proposed to go up by more than 8.7%. And that is causing some council members to express reservations about the 2027 budget proposal. In order to balance the budget, the city would need to dip into its reserve funds. However, city staff says the reserve fund remains healthy with over $7 million in rainy day funds available. That alone would cover about 9 months of payroll, benefits, and other city operations. Still, several council members say the current spending plan is, quote, not sustainable. For these and other stories, visit talkofdelmarva.com. I'm Jared Sorella.
Finish the week strong at Finn's in Georgetown or on Rehoboth Avenue. Fridays feature prime rib night, served up tender, flavorful and unforgettable. Great food, great atmosphere, and the perfect Friday night. Finn's Raw Bar, family. It's who we are. Visit finnsrawbar.com.
This is the Rehoboth Foodie. WGMD listeners know that Newsmax insider columnist Michael Hurd and I occasionally sit in weekdays for Mike, Jake, and MJ. Dr. Hurd is a mental health professional and a weekly self-help columnist in the Delaware Beaches newspaper. Be sure to check out Dr. Hurd's most recent books, Grow Up America and Bad Therapy, Good Therapy, available exclusively at drhurd.com. That's drhurd.com.
Are you grieving the loss of a loved one? Would you like to find hope and healing after the death of a loved one? Join the Grief Share Group. The Grief Share Group meets every Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. at the Harbison Methodist Church Hall on Harbison Road. The program is free. For information, go to the community calendar under the Extras tab at thetalkofdelmarva.com.
The need for blood is constant, but sometimes that need becomes critical. The Blood Bank of Delmarva needs your help, and first-time donors are encouraged to help Delaware and the Eastern Shore of Maryland residents who need it most. To schedule your appointment, call 1-888-8-BLOOD-8 or visit delmarvablood.org. Your one blood donation can help save multiple lives. For more information, go to the Community Outreach under the Extras tab at thetalkofdelmarva.com.
Broadcasting from the Finding Me Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Lights, camera, action. Here I am, it's Friday. Your News Talk America, your anchorman, Jake Smith, Digital Interactive Friday. Video streaming right now at realnewstalk.com. You can also watch the broadcast at Facebook Live. See live what's going on right here in DS2. Well, my friends, obviously energy is on our minds. You just heard, if you were listening via our terrestrial radio broadcast, the Fox News update. And President Trump's polling numbers are falling. Why? Because of energy and the prices of energy. Various forms of energy, specifically gas and diesel fuel. But I want to welcome in our panelists returning to your News Talk America. His name is Sam Remain. Sam is the chairman, Americans for Energy Dominance. And, you know, Sam, as bad as things are right now, and they're not, well, I mean, let's face it, gasoline's up about $1 in the last month since the war started. But at President Trump's insistence, if we had not focused on energy independence, we would be in far worse shape than we are right now, correct?
Absolutely correct. And this conflict in Iran, I think, is actually waking up a lot of people to the idea that America is not as energy independent as we would like to be. And that's the easy way to say it, but truly we kind of are energy independent, but what we are not is decoupled from the global energy markets. And so when there are nations who are not energy independent, namely Europe and Southeast Asia, who actually depend on the Hormuz Strait, when their pipeline of oil and natural gas gets shut off, then we end up backfilling that and exporting oil to those nations, which then has compounding effects on our prices at home. So it's really easy to say, like, we're not energy independent, but the true word is we're not decoupled from the global energy markets. But first of all, I want to say thank you for having me back. And I'm very excited to do the digital video feed with you today. This is fun.
Yeah, we hope to do this every day. And it is fun, and it gives our viewers, our listeners who then become viewers, the opportunity to see what goes on inside the studio if they ever had any doubt. Now, one of the problems that we have right now, which I think the war is pointing out, are refining capability. Even though it's getting a little bit better, it is not where it should be, because a lot of the oil that we extract from fracking and so forth goes to other countries to be refined. Isn't that true?
It is true, and you also have states like California who their standards.
I try not to think about that, Sam. You had to bring up California, but go ahead.
Well, they have made their fuel standards so unbelievably unachievable that they now have to import gasoline from other nations as well.
Yeah, the Bahamas.
Interestingly,
the Bahamas being one. Yeah.
And it should be at home. Actually, California sits on one of the largest oil reserves in the entire world, yet they haven't drilled into it for 10 years. I'm not an oil expert per se, but it's been a long time. And refineries are leaving and oil companies are leaving California because it's unbearable to do business. Even the tech companies are leaving California. Who would have thought? But now they are starting to realize. Gavin Newsom got on TV the other day and said the gas prices are all Trump's fault. That's not exactly the truth, especially
I heard that,
California.
No, fact is, nobody believes that, and especially anyone who lives in California, they don't believe that because they know that Sacramento has deliberately driven up and kept gas and diesel prices high for a reason, because they hate fossil fuels. This is exactly what they want.
Yeah, it is. It is exactly what they want, and forever they pushed everyone. Let's go away from fuel for a second. Yeah. California really led the charge in solar, utility scale solar. Certainly, they love clear cutting forest land and putting solar panels down, but they also encourage people to do residential solar systems, right? And then they did this fantastic rug pull of getting rid of the net metering program. So if you had a residential solar system, you didn't get that compensation anymore.
Oh, and then really?
Yeah, this is a little older, but it's kind of a fun story of how bad California is. So then what they said is, well, if you get a battery, then you can be compensated, but not just for solar panels. So they did that for a while. Everybody got a battery because California has terrible blackouts. It just happened last night, actually. California had a massive blackout. So people started getting batteries for that compensation program. Then they pulled that program too. And now you have to get solar on all new builds in California. And I'm a big fan of residential solar, truthfully. But here's what California is doing now. Now they want to add an extra tax called a checkoff program onto residential solar systems. If you're familiar with checkoff programs, Beef has one, Milk has one, the whole Got Milk slogan. Basically, it's a tax on a commodity that raises the prices. And so some industries, I could maybe sympathize with it a little bit. But when it comes to energy, we are already struggling to pay these bills that we cannot avoid paying. You don't have a choice of if you want to pay your utility bill or not. So by making energy more expensive broadly, California or otherwhere, usually that's going to result in lower polling numbers, certainly. But, getting back to Iran, too, it's a really interesting time right now is that if you look at the United States military capabilities, I don't think anyone would dispute the fact that we could crush the Iranian military. But what you're going to see is this new dimension of asymmetric warfare come out of Iran. They know that they can sow chaos. They cannot win head-to-head, but they can sow chaos and fear and uncertainty and doubt, FUD, right? And so what I'm mostly worried about, and I talked about this on your show last week, is how many Iranian sleeper cells are actually in this country right now.
Yeah, we know they're here. We just don't know how many.
Well, exactly. And we also know that under the Biden administration, the estimates are anywhere from 10 to 20 million illegal immigrants have come into this country. What we need to be asking ourselves is, do we believe that a portion of those 10 to 20, whatever that number is, illegal immigrants who came into this country, do we believe that a portion may be unfriendly adversaries, spies, sleeper cells?
We do know, Sam, that I believe the number is 179 catch and releases of Iranians happened at the border during the Biden regime, the 4 years that Joe Biden was sleeping in the White House. 179. That's just the ones that were caught, and then they were released into the country. So how many sleeper cells that were in existence did they join up with? How many new ones have been created? We just don't know. They're here, and they're probably ready to act. And you bring up a very good point with respect to electricity. And I pulled these stats off this morning. The national average for residential electricity has climbed 21% in 5 years. Why do you think that is, Sam?
It's a lot of reasons. We'll go back to the Biden administration because it's the easiest place. Actually, the Obama administration would be kind of the crux of it. Is really when they started to push the Green New agenda. Trump kind of put a big stop to that in his first term, but then Biden came in here and put it on jet fuel. And so what you saw happen was the premature closure of reliable baseload generating assets like coal, like natural gas facilities even, and just retiring these facilities early in the name of going totally net zero, which what that meant to the administration was we're going to build massive sprawling solar farms. We're going to clear cut forests. We're going to take farmland out of production. We're going to pay so much for this land that the actual farmers can't compete for this. And then we're going to build these solar farms. And again, I'm not a hater of solar. I am a hater of bad policy, okay? And so when you have an unlimited bucket of money, because the way that utility companies get paid is on how much they spend, not on how well they perform, they started to build these massive solar complexes, these massive utility scale solar farms. And then they built that into their rate case, and that's why you're seeing your bills go up, because the utility does not lose money. They have what's called a guaranteed return on equity, where for every dollar they spend, they are guaranteed to make around 10% profit on what they spend, which I think is a completely broken system. We should be looking kind of like what Texas does, where you kind of have some more free markets down there. But really, we should be looking broadly at how do we work with utilities to be more performance-based and not based on how much money they spend, which is the biggest problem.
Well,
so you have those two.
That problem is made worse by governments who get involved in utility companies and their operations and what they're forced to do. That's that's the big problem. If you left utility companies alone to develop their power generating sources based on what the best business model is, we wouldn't have this problem, Sam, right?
I don't think that you wouldn't have it, to be fair. I do think it would be certainly better. When you have bad policy, it creates bad outcomes. But at the same time, let's not lie to ourselves either and say that the utility companies didn't love spending billions of dollars, because they got massive paydays.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I've got a question here from our producer, Eric, for you that's just been posted on our Dial Interactive board. That's what's so cool about this show. Are SMRs, the small nuclear reactors, and we're hearing more and more about them as AI is, and the needs of AI and the way to power AI is being discussed. Are they getting more attention with the energy situation being unstable? Do you think that small nuclear reactors, it's going to happen. There's no question that they are, but the permits and everything else, do you feel that we will finally start to move forward with SMRs in the near future? What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, look, SMRs, small modular reactors, SMRs, likely are going to be the future of on-premise, point-of-use, large-scale power generation. They have a small footprint and a very high output. And to be fair, it's not really a new technology, because we've had small modular reactors and nuclear submarines for a long time, right?
Right.
What really is changing is the technology around manufacturing of these SMRs and how we can build them off-site and then ship them to different locations as needed, and then kind of pack up when we're done. So I am a big fan of SMRs. However, I also want to be a realist and say we are not close to having commercially viable SMRs at a low enough cost to make them viable.
All right,
the way
that's the problem.
It is a problem, and manufacturing is the core of that. But the ways that SMRs truly work is when you are able to produce them at scale, you can bring the manufacturing costs down enough so the power output per kilowatt hour, however you want to measure it, is actually cheaper than other sources of power. Well, when you're only building one, maybe every 5 years, that's not scale. And so the actual true cost per unit is exponentially higher. It'd be $1 billion a unit. Well, that doesn't really make sense either. But that is kind of the learning curve that the SMR industry has to go through. Is that's the growing pain, and they're going to lose a lot of money until someday they don't.
Sam, we've got so much to discuss in the future. We will have you back, because American energy dominance is something that we cannot take our foot off the accelerator. Again, Sam Remain, Chairman, Americans for Energy Dominance. Sam, give us the website. You've got a really nice website. I was on it this morning. Give us the website. We can go and check it out.
AmericansForEnergyDominance.com. You can also follow me on X, is probably where I'm most active. My first name Sam, last name Romain. And then Americans for Energy Dominance also has an X account too. And I always love being on your show, so give me a call anytime. I'm happy to come back.
Sam, thank you. We got some very interesting information today, and we'll be in touch. You'll be back on in short order, I promise.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you. Why is Elon Musk so pissed off at Delaware? We'll tell you why when Julianne Murray joins us on Your News Talk America. Digital Interactive Friday continues after this.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Rain showers likely today. Otherwise, cloudy skies expected. Daytime highs approaching 70. Northerly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Rain showers likely tonight. Lows dip down to about 33. Cloudy skies expected. Mainly clear skies tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 47. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center along the coast. Currently 70.
The Talk of Delmarva Radio Flea Market, Saturday morning at 10 on The Talk of Delmarva. Jake Smith, mid-mornings on WGMD.
How do you stay humble when you're America's #1 wiper blade? That's what we're currently dealing with at Rain-X. Is it even possible to humble brag when you bully Mother Nature like we do? Do we sound too conceited if we keep repeating how Rain-X is the #1 brand of wiper blades in America? No. We'll take a lesson from our wipers and just keep doing our job with humility. As America's #1 wiper blade. Rain-X. Outsmart the elements.
You know that Chick-fil-A sells more than chicken, right?
Hello, my name is Jaleesa, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit is how it's all of my favorite breakfast items in one good bite. That fluffy egg, that melty cheese with that perfectly grilled sausage. It just gives you that warmth, that comfort food that you love that is the best possible option for a classic breakfast.
Comfort is calling. Order a Chick-fil-A sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit with Simply Orange Juice on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real guests paid for their testimonial.
Views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and not necessarily the staff, management, ownership, advertisers, or sponsors of WGMD.
Attention veterans, do you know about the Delaware Veterans Cemetery on Patriots Way in Millsboro? Whether you are now serving or are an honorably discharged veteran, retired guard, or reservist, and are a Delaware resident, you may pre-register with a copy of your discharge documents. This is a free service for veterans. Thank you for your service. You'll find more information on how to apply at the Community Outreach under the Extras tab at thetalkofdelmarva.com.
Mike Bradley and the WGMD morning team is up well before the crack of dawn to deliver you all the latest news and pertinent information to start your day. Beginning at 5 a.m. weekdays here on 92.7 WGMD, Delmarva's news, talk, and sports station. Celebrating over 40 years. 92.7 and 98.5. The Talk of Delmarva.
Broadcasting from the Money Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Your News Talk America. It's Digital Interactive Friday. We continue, and the better half, well, maybe about better, the half of Julianne Murray's life right now, her husband Patrick just texted me because he hadn't seen me with a beard. So he wanted to know about the beard. And Julianne, he saw it on camera this morning. You can see me with a beard too, if you want to see it, at realnewstalk.com. However, it's good to see you, my friend. How are you?
I am well, and I was actually shocked by the beard myself. But hey, you know what? We haven't seen each other in a bit, so it's good to see you, my friend.
It's good to see you too. The situation between Delaware and corporate incorporations here in Delaware is getting worse and worse. This story where Elon Musk is demanding this judge's recusal because of what she posted on social media. Julianne, you and I have talked privately about the standards for lawyers in this state and how stringent it is. And a judge going on social media and posting about a case she was involved with, I've never heard of such a thing, but it's happening here. Tell us what you know, and you've argued cases in the Chancery Court.
Excuse me. I have no worries.
Tell us. Go ahead.
All right, so to kind of bring everybody up to speed, there was a juror, and I'm looking at my, just to get the details right. She has, Chancellor McCormick has a LinkedIn account, and a jury consultant in California posted an incredibly snarky post against Elon when the jury came down with the verdict, I think it was last week in California, about the Twitter forcing the price per share down. And her LinkedIn account clicked the support emoji on this LinkedIn post. So technically, and you and I did talk about this. I mean, so there's a couple of things at issue here, and there is an impartiality that is absolutely expected of anybody in the judiciary. And while this was her private account, it was Katie McCormick's account, her LinkedIn account. She's still the chancellor of the Court of Chancery, and lawyers are also held to a standard. So even as so I am mindful. When I was in politics, I was mindful. I was always a lawyer, and so you have to be very careful about how you weigh in on things. So his attorneys immediately filed for a motion for recusal, which is basically asking her to step aside, saying that there is a perception of bias. Now, a couple of things about recusal. Typically, recusal is at the discretion of the judge that is being asked to recuse herself. So this is not going before some panel somewhere to make a decision. This is just saying to her, hey, we think that this perception, this is bad news. There's a perception of bias here, which is unfair to our guy. She has already answered it and said basically, I don't think I clicked on that. Basically, I don't know how it happened, but
nobody knows how it happened, Julianne.
Yeah, no harm, no foul. But what's interesting and what it provoked me was, so we talked a year ago in the Tornetta versus Musk case about the decision that she made where she nullified his compensation package and she awarded $345 million of legal fees to the attorneys. I thought that case was still pending. That he appealed it, which we knew they were going to. That appeal actually came down in December. Why it was not a headline somewhere, I have no idea. But the Delaware Supreme Court reversed her. How come we didn't hear
anything about this?
I have no idea. But now they reversed it. So there's a very narrow ground that they did it under, but at the end of the day, they reversed her. And so his compensation package was upheld and the attorney's fees were slashed dramatically. Like she was using a 25 multiplier and they were dramatically reduced to 4 times the multiplier. Why that wasn't a headline, I don't know, because it was a good check on the judiciary. That's what the Supreme Court quote is supposed to do. So I was not aware that there's still stuff pending. And so when I saw this recusal argument because of the Tornetta case, there are other Tesla cases right now. There are new derivative suits from, against the board of directors. And so the way that cases get assigned, because she's been all in, on Twitter and Tesla and things like that, it got assigned to her. So there is actual pending litigation right now in the Court of Chancery. And she then supported what people are, they're characterizing as an anti-Elon post. Now, what's going to happen? Realistically, I don't know that it rises to the level of her removing herself, but there is already a stink right now about the Delaware Court of Chancery and its impartiality. Musk has made it his mission, I understand why, given what has happened to him. I get it. So if she doesn't, so even if the legal standard, because it's not, I know that they're talking about a perception of bias, but really I think in order for a recusal, they're going to have to get to there's an actual bias. And it's, it's a pretty tough standard. And she's already kind of postured and said, hey, I don't think there's anything here. However, there could be pressure brought to bear. The fact that he's posted, we're talking about it, other outlets are now talking about this. Delaware does not want this scrutiny. They just don't. They don't want the perception to be out there that our court is not impartial.
But it's too late, Julianne. The message is already out there, and corporations are reincorporating elsewhere. It's happening. So let me just get, and we're running out of time quickly, but former chair of the Delaware Republican Party, do you think the damage has been done? It's irreparable, and this is coming too little, too late. Your thoughts?
I do. I mean, I think that it is, basically this is, when a year ago, December of 24, when that decision came down and she basically said, that even though they re-voted, it still wasn't entirely fair. And that whole decision we talked about, over a year ago.
Yes,
when that happened, the die was cast. And there are, corporations at that point went, this is not good. And, started putting the ball in motion. It takes a while to move out of a state. I think that exodus is happening, even though our General Assembly put something in place to try and mitigate it. I think it's too late. I think it's too late.
And the governor too. The governor pushed the Demcoms in the State House to do that, right?
He did. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, they saw the rough waters ahead. They're here. I'm so pleased that Elon won that appeal. I had no idea. But he still hates Delaware anyway, and I don't blame him, Julianne.
Based on how everything that's happened, I get it, and and he's not going to stop.
Wow, Julianne Murray, former U.S. attorney for the District of Delaware, and my dear friend, thank you. It's good to see you again, and hopefully we'll see you personally very soon.
All right, good to see you. Take care, my friend.
All right, thank you, Julianne. We're going to take a break here on Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday. You can watch the program realnewstalk.com and at facebooklive.com. Yes, I'm wearing a tie today.
Oh, my.
Here's the marine forecast from the Taco Del Marva Weather Center. A small craft advisory remains in effect. For today, we'll start off with west winds 15 to 20 knots, becoming north around 10 to 15 knots by afternoon. Seas around 4 to 6 feet to start, subsiding to 3 to 4 feet by afternoon. Rain is likely by this afternoon, too. Tides for Rehoboth Beach, low tide 10:10 a.m., high tide 4:08 p.m., low tide 10:08 p.m. For Cambridge, high tide 12:23 p.m., low tide 7:18 p.m., high tide 12:44 a.m. Saturday. The current water temperature is 48 degrees.
The best mix of news, talk, and sports. 92.7 and 98.5. The Talk of Delmarva. You're listening to WGMD. Get the WGMD app online today.
This WGMD Fox Business Update is brought to you by Sussex Environmental Consultants. For a healthy home, call 302-947-1810.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks lost more ground at the open, with investors bracing for developments in the Iran crisis. Crude oil prices moved higher today. Brent crude topped $111 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate at $97. The S&P 500 could be heading for another losing week. Carnival shares are narrowly lower. The cruise giant says it's about 85% booked for this year. CEO Josh Weinstein says Carnival delivered a strong start to the year, and its business decisions are helping it to mitigate the impact of higher fuel prices. Netflix shares are up about 2% after the streaming giant raised prices. The standard subscription with ads now costs $8.99 a month, up $1. Ad-free subscriptions now $2 more a month. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda, invested in you.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie. Broadcasting from the Hardesty Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday continues. I was taking a look at some of the chatter in the Dial Lounge, and X-Nuke is talking about these SMR reactors and saying that they're not really the same reactors that are on U.S. naval ships. All right, well, we'll see if we can get that hammered out. Thank you so much for that information, ex-nuke. Want to welcome in our next panelist. His name is Dr. John Marshall Callahan. He's a former deputy spokesman at the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. We call it DNI for short. He's also an adjunct professor at the Institute of World Politics. Dr. Callahan, welcome to, for the very first time, your News Talk America. It's great to have you on the program.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
We are seeing what's going on daily. We get reports on what's coming. Actually, the reports are up to the minute. This war, nothing happens that we don't see happening in real time. Your thoughts on the current situation between the United States, Israel, and their enemy, Iran, and the war that's happening right now?
I think my thoughts are there's a lot of hammering going on and a lot of denial going on in Tehran of the situation. A lot of flailing. I mean, the missile attacks we're seeing around the region, maybe it's coordinated, but it could also looks a lot like it's flailing and just lashing out to see what kind of result they can get.
I mean, every time we see, and there's constantly missiles being fired at Tel Aviv, and yesterday, I guess, Jerusalem was under attack as well. There's a lot. It appears that the Iranians still have a supply of weapons that they can use, missiles that they can fire, and so forth. But as you mentioned, the command and control is another thing. We just don't know who's in control of those weapons and who, if anyone, is giving orders to fire and to where, right?
Exactly. One thing that we're really, really good at is taking out emissions and communication nodes, and it's very difficult to hide that stuff. So I would suspect that stuff has been heavily degraded. So it could be local commanders doing things. It could be pre-planned operations, sort of like a dead man's hand sort of thing. Like if you don't get any communications, just fire. That kind of stuff.
And that's what it appears, as you mentioned, that's what they have been doing. And right now, we're in a situation where President Trump has given Tehran, whomever we're negotiating with, Dr. Callahan, several more days to negotiate against April 6th. That's the hard deadline for them. Given what we know about the Iranians and their negotiating tricks, delay, are you hopeful that we're going to see anything positive here?
Well, the one thing the delay does is help us to get more forces in the area, the ground forces, and
right.
There's a whole debate about the utility of ground forces, but having every tool in your sort of diplomatic quiver is a good thing, and I don't see any military way that waiting benefits Iran, other than some people stay alive longer, and that matters to them. Economically and all that may be a different sort of story, but militarily, I don't see how delay helps them.
So if there is an attack and we do go after their energy infrastructure, does this not hurt the very people that we're asking to rise up against the regime, the Iranian people?
Well, yeah, and that could be part of the calculus. At least twice, maybe three times in the last 15 years, the Iranians seriously rose up, and we chose not to help or chose to even hinder,
right.
Under Obama and Biden. This time, they rose up seriously in January, and maybe this military operation is in part a response to that. But you want them to rise. I mean, a new government will be a government that we can negotiate with on nuclear weapons, on opening the Straits of Hormuz, on not hating us for 50 years. That's what we need. That's what has to happen. So
what we've already heard is that the Iranians, whomever is speaking on behalf of the regime, has already rejected the conditions for ending the war that the administration submitted. So what are we going to negotiate if they've already rejected each and every point out of hand?
Well, I think we have to keep on the pressure, and we have to get to the right people that will say different things. It's like the card deck that we had when I was in Iraq over 20 years ago of all the people we wanted to get. Eventually you get to the folks that will talk to you, and that's what we have to keep doing, I think.
Now, I didn't know you were in Iraq. Thank you for your service. And that really is, I guess, the concern that most Americans have about boots on the ground. We don't want another Afghanistan. We don't want another Iraq. But with the president deploying 10,000 extra troops, we have the troops from the United States Marines, that are heading towards Iran. The 82nd Airborne, we've got troops coming there. The general consensus is that they're not going to be driving Humvees up and down the streets of Tehran, that they're going to be used primarily to secure the Strait of Hormuz. Your thoughts on that, Dr. Callahan?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's what the Marines do. They fight in the littoral, with the area near the coast. And the things that we need to take care of in Iran, that's where they are. They're oil marshaling areas, the areas where they're launching missiles, the areas where they interdict the Straits of Hormuz. That's all near the water, and that's what the Marines do. Of course, the airborne go anywhere, but the idea that we would send them to Tehran, I mean, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. They're gonna work near the Persian Gulf. That's what makes sense.
Dr. John Marshall Callahan, former deputy spokesman at the Office of the DNI and an adjunct professor at the Institute of World Politics, joins us on Digital Interactive Friday. I have been asking for weeks since this war broke out, what about the Houthi rebels? They've got to be a force to be reckoned with, but they've been quiet. They have been staying relatively in the background. We don't know if the Houthis are going to get involved. What do you think, Dr. Callahan?
I think they don't want to die. They got pounded. They got pounded last summer, and
that's true.
But also, this could be part of the successful breakdown of the Iranian terror network. Maybe they're not being activated. Because there's nobody to do it anymore, but
because of command and control has been decimated. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I'm hopeful if that's the case anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, the Houthis obviously still a force that may have to be reckoned with. So, does the IDF go after the Houthis then? If Iran, if they do wave the white flag and they do surrender unconditionally, as President Trump has stipulated, do the Israelis go after the Houthis?
That's a good question. I mean, I think if we get what we want in Iran, it may be a moot point. It may be that the other various rats go underground at that point, which it doesn't exactly answer your question. I mean, they may still have to be dug out, and who's going to do it? I don't know. I don't know if we have the stomach for that. It's a question.
Well, we've got more questions for Dr. John Marshall Callahan, former deputy spokesman at DNI and an adjunct professor at the Institute of World Politics. When we come back, I want to talk about what's going on with the Gulf states, because that's important too, Dr. Callahan. But can we also talk about NATO? Because President Trump made some very strong comments directed toward NATO yesterday. Can we talk about that?
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to take a break. Your News Talk America, back with Dr. Callahan in just a moment. Stay with us.
Thank you.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Rain showers likely today, otherwise cloudy skies expected. Daytime highs approaching 70, northerly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Rain showers likely tonight, lows dip down to about 33, cloudy skies expected. Mainly clear skies tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 47. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center along the coast. Currently 70.
MJ Powell, weekdays 3 to 6, here on 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD. MJ Powell, afternoons on WGMD.
If you don't care about saving 50% off your wireless bill for the same 5G coverage the big guys are charging a fortune for, maybe you care about keeping jobs in America. Pure Talk does. They've pledged to run their entire operation from this country, including all their customer service. Or maybe you care about our nation's veterans. Pure Talk does. They've donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to America's Warrior Partnership, a fantastic organization working hard to prevent veteran suicide. Or maybe you care about closing America's skills gap. Pure Talk does. They're a proud supporter of MicroWorks. They're helping my foundation train the next generation of skilled workers. Don't get me wrong. Saving money's great, and you'll save plenty with Pure Talk. But if you want to be in business with people who share your values, dial pound 250, say micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Now through March 31st at In-N-Out Tire and Auto, get up to $170 back on a Firestone prepaid MasterCard. Get up to $70 back when you purchase 4 eligible Firestone tires, plus up to an extra $100 back when you use your CFNA credit card. Upgrade your ride and save big at In-N-Out Tire and Auto on Best Pond Road in Millsboro. Subject to credit approval, restrictions apply. Visit FirestoneRewards.com for details. In-N-Out Tire and Auto, keeping your vehicle rolling and your wallet happy since 1995.
Tune in this Monday afternoon after the 4:30 news as WGMD's featured guest will be Jim Fritz of All American Mortgage, specializing in reverse mortgages and keeping you up to speed with Delmarva's ever-changing housing market this Monday afternoon after the 4:30 news.
Here's how to listen to WGMD's 98.5 on your electronic device. Simply say, Alexa, open Talk of Delmarva Seaford, and you'll hear all your favorite programming from 98.5, the Talk of Delmarva, on air, online, and streaming.
Broadcasting from the Carnegie Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva.
Digital Interactive Friday continues live from DS2. Here I am. Yes, I'm wearing a tie. There it is. I don't wear a tie normally during the week. Wearing one today, although it doesn't bother me. I could wear a tie every day, and eventually we're going to probably be video streaming every day. When that happens, then I'll wear a tie every day. It makes no difference to me. But welcoming back Dr. John Marshall Callahan, former spokesman, deputy spokesman for DNI, the Director of National Intelligence, and an adjunct professor at the Institute of World Politics. Before we get back to talking about the war and NATO, Dr. Callahan, how do you feel about the job that Tulsi Gabbard has done thus far as our latest DNI?
I assessing her. I don't think it's been terrible. There are she talked about the issue down in Georgia. She has explained herself. I'm sort of agnostic. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's an honest answer. Now, getting back to the war. Yesterday, the United Arab Emirates intercepted 15 Iranian missiles, 11 drones. Gulf states are urging the White House to put the pedal to the metal militarily. But why aren't they sending their aircraft, their sons and daughters, if they want to help end the war? Why aren't the Gulf states doing more to assist us? Or are they? We perhaps don't know it.
Well, I think that there is assistance sort of below the surface, but the bigger question, and I know we're going to talk about NATO as well. Yep. I mean, this is sort of what the world has come to expect us to do, and I'm not endorsing that. You know, I think it's a little bit of the rhetorical point about people doing things for themselves. But I would say, you know, back to your first question about the missile attacks. I mean, this is the result of just the flailing sort of bombardments, is that they're actually stealing people's resolve to finish the mission against Iran. And that this is the result, you know, say the support to go do it, you know, get it done. We're tired of getting hit. Now they do defend themselves, obviously, but yeah.
I know that the Crown Prince in Saudi Arabia, apparently he told President Trump that they're even considering using their military to get involved in the war. Is that something, do you think, the president should consider, or is it better to let the United States and Israel take care of this and then let the Gulf states help to rebuild? Does that sound like a better plan to you, Dr. Callahan?
I think there's something in the middle. I think where help is offered, we should strongly consider it. The problem with the help offered is interoperability, intertraining. I mean, we had that incident at the beginning where the Kuwaiti fighters shot down some of ours who were like on approach to land. You know, so from that angle, keep everybody out. We and the Israelis can work together. We can deconflict. You know, so there's that. But
that's a good point, though. That's a good point. We're working very well with the Israelis. Why put more ingredients in the soup right now, right?
Right, right, and so but part of me says, "Hey, take all the help we can get," but yeah, clearly the main asset that the Gulf states bring is money, and the main applicability of that money, and their proximity will be afterwards for the rebuilding, and I mean, Iran is going to take a lot of rebuilding. They've been under a theocratic dictatorship for 50 years. There's a whole lot that's going to need to be done. You know what? How do they have all these missiles? Because they don't spend anything on their own people.
No, and we send them billions of dollars in the middle of the night on airplanes. We help to pay for that, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was Iranian assets that were freed up. Yeah, I understand that.
But, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I hear you though. Yeah.
Now, yesterday, President Trump, who's not very happy, well, he hasn't been happy with NATO. Even in his first term, he wasn't happy with NATO. But this is what he typed, Truth Social, all caps. NATO nations have done absolutely nothing to help with the lunatic nation now militarily decimated of Iran. The USA needs nothing from NATO, but never forget this very important point in time. Dr. Callahan, I don't think there's any question that the NATO alliance is fractured, has been fractured. But is this more evidence that the NATO is an alliance in name only when the United States should have had the help or assistance it needed from NATO? That's what the charter says, and we've been there for NATO countries, but they weren't there for us. What does that do actually to the alliance itself, in your estimation?
Well, I mean, NATO is not an offensive alliance, and strictly speaking, using the term NATO to say Europe, what we mean is the Europeans are not necessarily doing their part to help with security, right. which is true, which is undeniable, and a lot of Europeans would agree. NATO relies on the consensus of all of its members, and including us. And when that consensus is not there, then action isn't going to happen, which is sort of why it's not offensive, because getting them all to agree to attack somebody, that's impossible, right? So,
yeah, I mean, and Turkey's a member country, and they would never agree to do that anyway, right?
Right, exactly. So yeah, this goes to the point about the Gulf states and burden sharing all around. Is we clearly need an effort to share the burden around the world. Whether NATO is the right bugbear to hit on in this specific case, I'm not sure. There are other things to do that about.
I mean, to the extent that NATO countries are getting involved, Australia sent one spy plane to help. One spy plane? Are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, they're not
one spy plane.
They're not in the alliance, but I take your point, and they definitely have a role in the region, though.
Well, the UK is in the alliance, and we all know what Keir Starmer, what he said at the outbreak of this war. Now they are getting involved with the minesweepers, the British minesweepers.
Yes.
How effective do you think they're going to be, Dr. Callahan?
I think that depends on the context of the overall operation they're in. I mean, they're effective. They do their jobs, but you send them in without securing them from missile strikes and small boats and all those things, and that's not going to go well. So it's all about building an integrated military operation, I think. And I mean, they have a great capability there, and it'll be useful if it's used correctly. That's my opinion, and protected, because those ships are basically unarmed. So that's a big deal.
Now, getting with the war plans for Iran, President Trump has made it known that he wants to end this conflict as quickly as possible. The Iranians would like to keep it going, because the longer it goes, the higher prices go here in the United States, and the more weakened Donald Trump is politically. And this is, as you know, an election year. The midterms are coming up. What are your thoughts about the war ending? Is Trump looking for an exit strategy here? Is that why he's talking to a country that can't be trusted to negotiate fairly and honestly anyway? What are your thoughts?
I don't know if we're headed toward exit strategy yet. I think, moving that deadline out a couple of weeks, I think that's an indicator of when we might head toward, really looking for the exit. I mean, obviously we'd like it to end, of course, but I don't think that we're panicking toward an early exit at this point. Yeah, I don't see that.
But the mainstream media, we call them Marxist state media on this program, they are constantly chirping that the United States is losing to Iran. Even the New York the New York Times came out recently and said the United States is winning here. Trump has executed this war trend. So why aren't more people on board with this, do you think, Dr. Callahan? Or is it just Trump derangement syndrome, Act 2?
It's a little bit of that. It's the state of partisan bickering in the United States, or we can't come together on anything. Everything is political, and
war.
Right, a war that by the basic numbers, we're doing pretty well. Yeah.
I had stated on the program yesterday that, in my opinion, I know the Marines, the United States Marines, are heading there, but they have a score to settle with the Iranians based on what happened at the barracks in Beirut in 1983. Yep. Don't you think the United States Marine Corps would like to settle the score?
Well, the Corps will do what it's told to do by its civilian authority, of course. But, This goes to the point, though, that we've been at war with Iran for 50 years.
Oh, no question about it.
Agree to it or not. Yeah.
One of my producers on our Dial interactive board yesterday said that what took place with the regime when they stormed our embassy in 1979 and took hostages, that was an act of war, because that embassy was sovereign U.S. property, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us what you think we're going to see for the next month with respect to the war itself. You served in Iraq. This is a far different circumstance than that, although we would welcome regime change in Tehran. What do you think is going to happen here, your estimation, Dr. Callahan?
So, and I was serving at the embassy with the State Department in Baghdad back in the day.
In the Green Zone?
And even back then, Iran was the feared enemy. They were the ones smuggling the explosively formed projectiles across the border into Iraq and killing our troops. So it goes back quite a way. But I think that a lot of it hinges on when the oil can flow through the Straits of Hormuz. If the economic situation can begin to be improved, then
stabilized.
Exactly. Then that will give the wherewithal to push it through to where it needs to go to the end. I mean, there are a lot of guys left in Iran to take care of, essentially, and we need the time to do that. And it just sort of depends if the economic situation will allow it. Now, a lot of that is demonstrating the world that the straits are clear and having ships move through and escorting them and all that sort of thing as well. I think that's the shape of the coming month is trying to get that done.
The precision nature of the airstrikes, this is far different than it was really in Iraq. Are you really surprised at how good the United States has gotten at precision airstrikes based on what we've seen thus far in this war?
No. And I'm old enough to remember the first Gulf War, and there 91. It was like, watch us hit this building. And then by the OIF period 20 years ago, then it's like, oh, check out this window. And now it's there's a dime. You
see that cockroach on the wall? We can take him out.
Exactly. No, this is. I mean, we do tech really well. That's our thing. So yeah.
Well, and the other item we were talking about earlier with the Pentagon reporter Ryan Morgan from the Epoch Times is how drones have changed warfare and will continue to transition warfare from what we are familiar with to something totally unfamiliar to us, where drones will be battling it out in the sky, and perhaps not F-15s, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and that goes to a cost problem. You mentioned the Houthis. You talking about drones, and
absolutely,
they can produce a Shahed for $20,000, and we're trying to shoot it down with a $3 million, missile. That is driving the price down is something we have to work on.
Dr. John Marshall Callahan, former deputy spokesman at DNI and an adjunct professor at the Institute of World Politics. Dr. Callahan, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Absolutely, thank you. I look forward to the future.
Oh, we do as well. Thank you.
92.7 WGMD Rehoboth Beach and 98.5 WUSX Seaford, the talk of Delmarva.
Will the House go along with the Senate? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. They're considering the bill to end a 42-day stalemate over Homeland Security funding that the Senate passed in a unanimous voice vote around 2 o'clock this morning. But House Speaker Mike Johnson tells Fox.
It's infuriating that Democrats are willing to inflict pain on the American people simply so they can defund the agency that is responsible, literally, for removing criminal illegal aliens.
The bill would not fund ICE and parts of Border Patrol. Here's Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
Democrats held firm in our opposition that Donald Trump's rogue and deadly militia should not get more funding without serious reforms.
And while we await that funding, TSA agents still not paid. Some keep not showing up for work. So Fox Business Network's Madison Allworth reports from Newark, New Jersey's airport.
Today could be a very tough travel day. If things don't change, TSA workers will miss their third full paycheck. Since the shutdown, over 500 officers have quit, and call-out rates are hitting new highs, with 40% of officers calling out in busy hubs like Atlanta.
Back to Congress, the House Ethics Committee's decided that a Democrat from Florida, Sheila Phyllis McCormick, violated House rules and standards over fraud allegations she denies.
That Phyllis McCormick obtained $5 million in FEMA funds for her family's healthcare business under the guise of providing COVID vaccines. But she's now charged by both the U.S. Justice Department and Florida state prosecutors of using that money for her political campaigns.
Fox's Devin Brown. Republicans may try to kick Phyllis McCormick out of Congress. It's day 28 of Operation Epic Fury. Israel has ramped up attacks today targeting Iran missiles and launchers as President Trump insists Iran is begging to make a deal to end the conflict.
The Wall Street Journal first reported that Fox News confirms that the Trump administration is considering sending in 10,000 U.S. soldiers here to the Middle East. That would be in addition to the 1,500 troops that are going to possibly be deployed from the 82nd Airborne.
That's Matt Finn. America's listening to Fox News.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit LifeLock.com for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
I didn't switch to Pure Talk just because I wanted to save 50% off the same 5G service I'd been paying twice as much for. I switched because I like the idea of being in business with a wireless company that supports our veterans in a meaningful way. Pure Talk also creates American jobs every day by keeping their entire operation in this country. I appreciate that. If you feel the same, dial pound 250, say Micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something.
Delmarva's home for local news, 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, the talk of Delmarva.
The news is brought to you by Wings to Go Long Neck. Open every day at 11 a.m. Order on DoorDash or call 302-947-9444.
Delaware lawmakers moving to protect those at the head of the class. A new bill titled the We've Got Your Back Act is headed to committee. If passed, House Bill 331 would upgrade charges to second-degree assault in cases where an educator is intentionally or recklessly injured. The protection is broad, covering everyone from teachers to subcontractors at both public and private schools. You can expect a committee hearing on the measure within the next 12 legislative days. Major investments coming to mental health services on Maryland's Eastern Shore. The state Senate has greenlit a nearly $2 billion capital budget, which includes $2.5 million for a new behavioral health school in Wicomico County. Local leaders have fought for 3 years to bring the Kennedy Krieger Institute project to life. Senator Mary Beth Carrozza calls the needs urgent, noting the region is currently underserved. The budget also secures funding for Tidal Health and a local university project as it now moves to the House of Delegates for a final look. A change in Delaware law could soon streamline medical certifications. House Bill 224 has officially cleared the state Senate. It now sits on the governor's desk awaiting his signature. The act authorizes licensed physician assistants to officially pronounce death and sign off medical certifications. It adds those physician assistants to the list of authorized professionals. It does remove registered nurses from the same category. Now that it has been passed in the legislature, it awaits a signature from the governor to become Delaware state law.
WGMD AccuWeather.
A breezy and cooler Friday with periods of rain. The high 62 temperatures, though, will fall back into the middle 40s. Clear, breezy tonight. Freezing temperatures in the normally colder spots. We'll see 33 inland, 38 at the beach. Tomorrow, partly sunny at least, but it will be windy and it will be chilly. The high 46. Sunny and breezy for Sunday. The high 53. More on these and other stories, visit talkofdelmarva.com. I'm Jerry Lademan in the Talk of Delmarva News.
Craving wings? Head to Wings to Go Long Neck, now under new ownership, where flavor meets freshness. Choose from 29 sauces and dry rubs. Enjoy traditional or boneless wings, always cooked to order. Try cheesesteaks and their popular soft-shell crabs. Conveniently located at 25938 Plaza Drive in Millsboro. Open daily at 11 a.m. Call 302-947-9444 or order on DoorDash. Wings to Go Long Neck. Simply great wings since 1985.
Broadcasting from the Carnegie Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Digital Interactive Friday continues live from DS2. I'm your anchorman, Jake Smith, and we are waiting for Jim Hoft to join us, and I'm just going to shoot him a text message. This is how things go in radio right here. I'm just going to text Jim and say, Jim, can you log on? There you go. And hopefully he will log on, and we'll go from there. Now, coming up after Jim Hoft, we're going to welcome in for the first time panelist Sarah E. Thompson. Sarah is a Georgia election integrity volunteer. She is amazing. Wait until you meet Sarah Thompson. Now, it's interesting that it is now almost 6 years since the theft of the 2020 election, and much of that theft came from funny business that happened in the state of Georgia. Now, what we were talking about just a few moments ago with Dr. Callahan, with respect to Tulsi Gabbard actually going and standing outside while the FBI almost 2 months ago raided a Fulton County, Georgia election center. We haven't heard anything about that. Well, we never hear anything about anything. Did you see Pam Blondie Bondi, otherwise known as Gidget, on Fox this morning? It's amazing. She's still blaming Merrick Garland and the Biden regime for all of the problems that the Department of Justice has. Nothing about what she's done that has brought people that have damaged this nation and gone against the United States Constitution. She hasn't brought any of those people to justice, but she's still complaining of Merrick Garland and the Biden regime. I don't want to hear it from her anymore, to be honest with you. I just want her to announce that so-and-so has been indicted. Brennan's been indicted. Comey's been indicted. Merrick Garland's been indicted. The members of the Biden administration, such as Susan Rice, she's been indicted. Nothing. So I'm so sick of Gidget. I just wish the president would fire her. I really do. However, Sarah E. Thompson, Georgia election integrity volunteer, is to join us in this hour as well. And my friends, there's certainly a lot going on in Georgia. I mean, she and her people are filing lawsuits left and right. It's similar to what Commander Greg Stenstrom has done in Pennsylvania with regard to the election funny business in Pennsylvania. And we really haven't heard anything about Fani. What's going on with Fani? We'll see if we can find out from Sarah Thompson, and that comes up later in this hour. So we're waiting for Jim Hoft, editor of the Gateway Pundit, to join us. If you didn't hear, and one of the things that I wanted Jim to talk about, as he covered this story yesterday on the Gateway Pundit, and here's the headline: City of Brotherly Love loves Islamic terrorists. A mob of masked terrorist sympathizers descended on City Hall Wednesday evening. That's the City Hall that is featured in the Rocky movie. You know, the Rocky statue of Rocky Balboa is outside the City Hall. And And it was one of these protests that were obviously funded and coordinated by a third party somewhere. The name of the protest was called Hands Off Iran. The rally went on to cheer the deaths of U.S. soldiers. Americans cheering the deaths of U.S. soldiers, openly praising Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthi rebels, and setting American flags on fire while waving Palestinian and Iranian flags. My friends, this wasn't some fringe gathering hidden in the shadows. This was and this is Jim Hofst here, this was a brazen, in-your-face anti-American extremism which is happening in broad daylight in a major U.S. city, a historical city as we approach our 250th anniversary in Philadelphia. How about that? So we're going to talk, hopefully, to Jim Hofst if he signs on. However, he has not signed on yet. So in order to try to keep some semblance of staying on time, we're going to go to a break and then come back, and hopefully Jim Hofst will be with us. As I mentioned, Sarah E. Thompson, who is fighting on behalf of election integrity in Georgia. She is due to join us later in this hour, so we will take a break and come back. Your News Talk America. First of all, I want to thank Mark Giuliani, who is in the control room in Virginia this morning. I want to thank Snerdley, who's in master control here in Delaware, and Walt is in Studio A, keeping the radio side of things operating today. So we couldn't do this alone. We've got our crew. We're here. We're doing our best, and hopefully we'll have Jim Hofst, editor of the Gateway Pundit, on in just a moment. Stay with us.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Rain showers likely this afternoon, otherwise cloudy skies expected. Daytime highs approaching 70, north winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Cloudy skies expected again tonight. Rain showers likely, lows dip down to about 33. Mainly sunny skies tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 47. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center along the coast. Right now, 65.
The Rita Cosby Show, weeknights at 10 on WGMD's 98.5. You're listening to WGMD.
This 11 a.m. Wellness Minute is locally brought to you by Pam Health Rehabilitation Hospitals. Recovery doesn't end when the hospital stay does. That's why Pam Health offers specialized support groups for individuals recovering from stroke, brain injury, or amputation, and for the families who walk that journey beside them. Their support groups offer a strong, understanding community, both in person and virtually, where you can share experiences, ask questions, and receive real support and advice from those who've been there. As one member said, the doctors and therapists helped me recover my body. The support group helped me recover myself. To learn more, visit PamHealth.com. That's PamHealth.com.
If you're thinking about retiring soon, be sure to tune into Wise Money with Michael Anderson of Anderson Wealth Management this Saturday morning at 9. Listen as Michael Anderson talks about the latest trends and headlines that could impact your retirement. Don't go into retirement unprepared. Listen this Saturday morning at 9 to Wise Money with Michael Anderson of Anderson Wealth Management. Michael Anderson, registered investment advisors, doing business at Anderson Wealth Management, is a registered investment advisor.
Tune in this Tuesday at 4:40 p.m. as I'll be live with Dr. Tiny and the housing segment. Learn how we can create housing options that work for everyone in our community. This Tuesday at 4:40.
Views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and not necessarily the staff, management, ownership, advertisers, or sponsors of WGMD.
Broadcasting from the Miami Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday continues. Your anchorman, Jake Smith, gladly sitting in DS2, bringing you nothing but freedom, liberty, and, of course, the truth. My friends, there are a lot of heroes out there fighting on behalf of our nation, especially when it comes to election integrity. It looks like we're not going to have Jim Hoft, editor of the Gateway Pundit, with us. Jim is a no-show, and that's not like Jim. I'm not sure what's going on. However, let's bring in, Mark, can we punch up our next panelist, Sarah Thompson? I saw her pop up on the screen there, so if she's ready to go, let's, by all means, let's bring Sarah on right now, if that is possible. We'll wait for the control room to make that happen, and while we are getting ready to talk to Sarah Thompson, Georgia Election Integrity Volunteer, we are going to have the first of what is going to be many Countdown to 250 segments coming up on Your News Talk America, celebrating 250 years of American independence. That comes up at 11:33. That is Eastern Time. Now, I want to welcome for the first time Sarah E. Thompson, Georgia Election Integrity Volunteer. It's so nice to have you on the program, Sarah, and I'm so impressed by, I'm from New York originally, so I'll say your chutzpah. You are one tough cookie, and you are a soldier in the fight in Georgia for election integrity. It's great to have you on.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
So tell us about election integrity in Georgia. I am one of those who feels that the 2020 election was stolen. No more, I don't think we needed any more evidence that Georgia was involved in the theft of the 2020 election. What can you tell us about what has transpired since 2020, where you think perhaps that election integrity is something that will be realized in the 2026 midterm elections?
Well, I'd like to go ahead and start off by saying that I am a constitutional advocate and I'm not a politician. And I also took an oath when I was young to support and defend the Constitution. So everything that I say comes through that lens.
Well, you're a veteran. You're a U.S. veteran, right?
Yes, I was a captain in the United States Army. I'm also a career military spouse. My husband is a retired naval commander. And I am like our family is like the Kents and the Peters family, where Joe Kent and the Peters, in fact, our family was in that area when Tina Peters lost her son out of the sky in New York City. So we were in that area. So we are a different cut of people. We are not politicians. We are simply here to represent the lowest common denominator, the sailor, the soldier who said this very same oath. And I know that might sound just like a military statement, but it does impact our U.S. constitutional rights. We have fundamental rights. And I'm sorry to say that those fundamental rights are not maintained. Our government is essentially rogue. And from a very baseline perspective, you asked about elections. Now, in order to have a good discussion constitutionally about elections, we have to first determine if those elections actually occurred. And under Article 1, of course, the time, place, and manner is prescribed by the states, made or altered by Congress. And that was our work. And we are cells of constitutional advocates here in Georgia. And I represent the work of many people statewide who work in their kitchens, in their spare time, trying to discern where we are going wrong. And I'm sorry to say that the premise of election is not valid. So because of one very important thing, and you may have seen this through Steve Coon's distributing of some of my work, I went ahead and decided to get a master's in law because I wanted to understand and become more competent to, and what's so funny is that it's not very hard to see what they've done once you look at it through the right lens. And the lens I use is the Constitution. And so the problem is that we've abandoned Congress's mandate, which for the manner of election. So the manner of election is by printed or written ballot or voting machine, the use of which is authorized by the state. Now, that was 1870s and 1899. I'm sure you would know there was no electronic.
I know I look old, but it was before my time, Captain, believe me.
Absolutely, before Apple and IBM and all that. So 1872, they said printed or written ballot. We didn't just fall off the peanut truck, which we sometimes say in Georgia. We know what printed or written ballot means. It was handed to those fine people, those fine Americans in the 1800s, and it should be handed to us today. Now, the term voting machine is what's been really exploited. And all across the country, people, you probably hear it all the time. Voting machine, we don't want voting machine, we don't want this voting machine. Well, guess what? That is a false statement because the only term, the voting machine term, only applies to lever voting machines. That's the only
not
valid,
electronic voting machines.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, they're not. They're called electronic systems, and they put the word voting before the word system to make us think that they're for voting. Well, a corporation, as you know, can do anything they want with their electronics, right? They can use it for gambling. They can use it for vendors, kiosks, vending machines. And in fact, when Georgia brought in these electronics in 2002, right after the HAVA Act, they were featured in Kiosk Magazine, vending magazine. Okay, it wasn't featured in Voting Magazine. It was featured in Vending Magazine. So basically, what we have is all of our polls are infiltrated by these electronics. It's very similar to some electronic simulation. They use the word results, and they say, well, whatever spits out the back of this. And what's phenomenal that your listeners would be very interested about, and this applies nationwide. We have receipts from Arizona, Michigan, the actual strip that comes out the back end of these systems that poll officers are supposed to sign. It bears something called the Local Authority Election Act. The Local Authority Election Act is not American law. It's of Canada, provincial Canadian law. So, the Dominion Voting Systems Incorporated Company, which is an instrumentality of Canada, is used to control Canadian jurisdictions, is from Ontario. So they set up an office, in the Denver area, and they had, their foreign office, their office over there, and they started selling to our state. Our state started taking money from the federal government, from the state citizens, and started buying these things. So unfortunately, there is no progress in Georgia to remove these electronics from the polls. It's just not happening. They're trying to sub in a new system where print on demand printer. I'm sorry, it's still an electronic. No matter how you cut it, our law, which is 21-430 to 440, says we need to be presented a folded piece of paper. The paper, the written or the printed ballot is the method. It's not an accessory like earrings or, a little, file folder. It is the method. And it's so simple. It's just such a tragedy. So we have a lot of kabuki theater. It's a lot of theater. I have yet to find a constitutionally loyal representative in this state, to be honest. And so what I'm saying is not what's on the popular news. I'm telling you what it is from a constitutional perspective.
And that's what we want to deal with on this program. Captain Sarah E. Thompson, U.S. Army retired. Thank you, Captain. I'm glad you told me your rank, because we always honor our commissioned officers on this program, because, as you know, your oath of office is with you for the rest of your life. She's a Georgia Integrity volunteer. She's a constitutional a warrior. Can we call you a constitutional warrior, Captain? Is that the good point?
I have devoted the past 6.5 years to fighting for the Constitution against these domestic enemies, unfortunately.
It's been almost 2 months since the FBI raided an election center in Fulton County, Georgia. The raid itself was witnessed by Tulsi Gabbard, who is Director of National Intelligence, as you know. Obviously, there is some hint that there's been foreign interference in our elections. That's why Tulsi Gabbard was there in the first place. Have you heard anything about what's happened since? It's been 2 months, and all we hear is crickets.
That's funny you say that. I actually filed a motion into both the magistrate criminal case with the warrant and into the civil case with Ted Metz. And there's a huge problem there as well. Because, again, if we do not have elections unless we're under Article 1, if we are not under Article 1 producing duly certified results, we don't have election property. So we don't have duly certified returns. We do not have official ballots. We do not have tally sheets. We do not have anything, so they cannot apply 52 USC 20701 to our situation. What it is, and this is going to maybe blow your mind and that of everybody's, all we have is evidence of counterfeit. It's evidence of counterfeit. And
where is Brian Kemp, a so-called Republican? Where is Brian Kemp? Well, we know where he's been since 2020, don't we?
He is responsible for so many problems, and he also, okay, so Georgia Republican Party Incorporated is what Brian Kemp authorized. Before, when he was Secretary of State, he is allowed a corporation to stand in for the political party. We are so regressive. We're like pre-civil rights, pre-civil war here. You know, the minorities fought against this. Oh, well, you're black. We don't want you in here because we don't want you in our private club. Brian Kemp set that up in 2014 for his friend John Padgett, who was the chairman at the time. And we've had bad deal after bad deal after bad deal since then. And so we have corporate agents in office, and they pledge, I shall be loyal to the Georgia Republic. It's all that they've authorized is a private entity, and we assess that these are violations of the Tillman Act. The Tillman Act, as you know, was 1907 to stop the big cats from taking control. We have authoritarianism, and we don't care if they use the word Republican. You got to be legit. We don't have a registered party in Georgia.
Unbelievable.
And it's making us so vulnerable, and the conservatives are so unrepresented. All people. Nobody has proper representation in Georgia, or representation at all.
Captain, we have a digital interactive program where we have listeners and viewers who they volunteer to be producers, and they upload questions. They monitor the program. And I have a question that's just been uploaded for you. Can I provide that question to you now?
Certainly.
Our producer Wolf asks, will justice finally be done within the statute of limitations? And I have to tell you that the rumor that truckloads of or 18-wheelers worth of phony ballots came from a post office in New York and went down to Georgia. We keep hearing that story. That particular post office, I grew up in that town. Bethpage, Long Island was the post office. Bethpage, Long Island is the place where the Grumman Lunar Module was designed and built and took us to the moon. And now people, whenever they hear Bethpage, Long Island, they think of stealing elections in Georgia. So what do you think? Is there going to be any justice for those who have done this to our elections?
I think it goes even further back than that, to be honest, because as I mentioned, the 2002, the HAVA Act, is when our federal government said, oh, states, you can get federal money for putting electronics in the polls. And that was a $4 billion taking of our federal tax dollars. So it is our government. We think that, oh, the foreign people doing foreign things. Well, guess what? We have defense. We're supposed to defend. Yeah, there are bad guys that want to do bad things all the time to us. That's why we're supposed to have defense and the rule of law. So it is my very, very strongest opinion that all Americans have claims against the federal government and the state government both, because they gave them, and if you look closely at the HAVA Act, it's not under Article 1. People will say, oh, well, that replaced Article 1. No, that was passed.
No, I can't. Nothing can replace Article 1 unless there's a convention of states.
well, yes, and it was passed under public health and welfare law. Now, haven't we heard, the welfare, what? Our welfare is in having our fundamental representative government. That's where our welfare starts. And
was Stacey Abrams in favor of that, by the way?
Stacey Abrams, she wasn't even around then. That was 2002.
Oh, okay. Well, she still hasn't conceded the governor's election yet, but I just thought I would ask. I throw Stacey Abrams' name in that. All right. So, final question: will your efforts, do you think, be successful to secure the midterms before November? What do you think?
We have lost our separation of powers. We have lost our separation.
So the answer is no.
It would take a miracle. It looks like the judiciary is controlled by the executives, is loyal to the corporate establishment and the roadblock. We have corporate gridlock. So when you have corporate gridlock in your government, you've lost a lot. Yep. We'll
That's
try.
not
We're going to keep fighting.
You're not very optimistic, Captain. I would have hoped that we would have seen some improvements, but I hope we can get you back on again. I would like to have you on with Commander Gregory Stenstrom from Pennsylvania, who's done exactly what you have done in Pennsylvania. I'd like the two of you to come on together and talk about this further. Would you be agreeable to that?
Any time of the week, any day, no problem.
Thank you so much. Captain Sarah E. Thompson, U.S. Army retired, Georgia election integrity warrior. I'm going to keep calling you a warrior because you're not going to give up until we've regained election integrity in this country and in Georgia, correct?
Correct.
Captain, thank you so much. You have given us a lot to think about today.
Blessing. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. And blessings to you and your husband as well. You're listening to Your News Talk America, back with the celebration of America, 250 years and counting.
Here's the marine forecast from the Taco Del Marvo Weather Center. A small craft advisory remains in effect. For today, we'll start off with west winds 15 to 20 knots, becoming north around 10 to 15 knots by afternoon. Seas around 4 to 6 feet to start, subsiding to 3 to 4 feet by afternoon. Rain is likely by this afternoon, too. Tides for Rehoboth Beach, low tide 10:10 a.m., high tide 4:08 p.m., low tide 10:08 p.m. For Cambridge, high tide 12:23 p.m., low tide 7:18 p.m., high tide 12:44 a.m. Saturday. The current water temperature is 48 degrees.
92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, where the news comes first. Mike Bradley mornings on WGMD. News on the hour on WGMD.
This WGMD Fox Business Update is brought to you by Sussex Environmental Consultants. For a healthy home, call 302-947-1810.
I'm Taylor Riggs, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Americans are feeling less confident about the economy at the end of this month. The University of Michigan's consumer sentiment reading declined to 53.3, and also those surveyed have a higher expectation for inflation this year. More losses on Wall Street today, though President Trump has extended the deadline for negotiations with Iran. Crude oil prices are higher. Brent crude has topped $110 a barrel. Carnival, the cruise company, says it's seeing strong demand and on-board spending, but it's lowering expectations for this year because higher oil prices are driving up fuel costs. Shares are down 2%. Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings is making changes to its board. Activist investor Elliott has been demanding changes at the company. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda, invested in you.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie. Broadcasting from the Montague Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Digital Interactive Friday continues. I hope that you are enjoying this program, getting something out of it. You know, I'm just looking at the Dial Lounge, which is our chat room. And our last guest has really, I think, gotten the attention of our Dial producers, you too, as well. And, you know, she's talking about this vote for election integrity. It's all about the United States Constitution. And I suspect our next panelist, who was just on with us a few days ago to promote what we're doing now, that is Dr. Murray Sabrin is joining us. Dr. Sabrin, What's gone on with funny business in the elections and how election integrity in this country has suffered? My last guest said plainly, it's all about complying with the United States Constitution, plain and simple. And that's what you're going to talk to us today. We're going to celebrate 250 years of independence, but it is all about the Constitution, isn't it, sir?
Absolutely. This is the foundation of our country, is what can the government do? Enumerated powers in Article 1, Section 8. And the amazing thing that really is of concern to me and others who have looked at the Constitution, looked at the federal budget, and we see there's such a great disconnect between what is authorized by the Constitution and what the government spends money on. And I just gave a major address to my neighbors yesterday in an hour-long presentation about.
They are so lucky to have you for a neighbor. having a professor right in their neighborhood who can teach a class.
Well, the work that I've done over the past 50 years in monetary policy and fiscal policy, just shows that we are so far away from the founders' vision for the country about what the government can or cannot do. And it's spelled out all there in Article 1, Section 8 and the 10th Amendment, which is probably the most forgotten amendment of the Constitution. Namely, if it's not in the Constitution, it's reserved to the states and the people.
One of the things that I've mentioned to you in the past, and I brought it up this morning on my show Monologue, based on that 2 a.m. sideshow at the United States Senate last night, that lifetime membership exclusive club, is that we have got to make a decision in this country about the 17th Amendment, because it's destroying us. We have got to get the Senate back to the control of the states. And I know you agree with that. The 17th Amendment should be repealed, right?
Oh, there's no question about it. This gives the states, as they say, skin in the game in Washington right now. The states are basically subservient to the federal government. And listen, we all live in a state, we all live in a county, we all live in a metropolitan area or a rural area. That's where the decisions should be made as to how our money is being spent by the government. In fact, I come from the perspective that we should keep our own money and to use that money for our own benefit. To use the 1965 Rolling Stones, we want satisfaction, and the only way we get satisfaction is when we spend our own money according to our own values and preferences.
All right, celebrating 250 years of American independence. We're going to be doing this every Friday at 11:33 Eastern Time with you, Dr. Sabrin, and I'm so excited about it. Let's launch our first celebrating 250 years of American independence.
Well, the wonderful thing that happened 250 years ago was the British were driven out of Boston, which gave the colonists really a boost in terms of can we achieve independence from Britain. And so that was the first major victory by the colonists. And even though there were pockets of Tory support across the colonies, because people felt if they went against the crown and the crown won the battle with the colonists, they would be hung for treason, which is understandable from their part because loyalty to the crown was one of the things that King George III expected from the colonists. And so you had this internal battle in the United States, even within small pockets of colonies. And in fact, there's an interesting factoid regarding Delaware. Delaware was a hotbed of Tory support during 1776.
That really surprises me because, well, for those of you who don't know what the Tories are, the Conservative Party of Great Britain. They were the conservative, but they still are. Well, they're supposed to be. They're not really very conservative anymore. They don't stand for their principles. But Delaware was a Tory stronghold, huh?
It really was. The information I got was just a brief presentation that it was a popular place for the Tories. And throughout the colonies in New York City, Ulster County, there were pockets, and Queens, New York was also a hotbed of Tory support. So again, you see this happening throughout the colonies, and the question was, when did this coalesce? We'll go through that as we approach July 4th.
So there was I guess, a fear of the crown that they could make the lives of the colonists miserable if we did not win the revolution. Is that really what held back most people in the beginning of joining in and taking part in what became the American Revolution, Dr. Sabrin?
That was one of the part. One of the things is the other part, I guess, would be people liked being subservient to the crown, or they were receiving benefits from the crown. Remember,
such as what kind of benefits, if I may ask?
If you were a tax collector, if you were enforcing some of the laws that the crown imposed on the colonies, you were getting paid for doing that. And of course, this goes back throughout history that sometimes the oppressed become the oppressor in their native country because you're getting a paycheck. And as you know, in a world where there's risk all over the place, one thing that people want is a paycheck. And if you're getting a nice paycheck from the oppressive government, you're going to partake in it.
TSA agents aren't getting their checks from an oppressive government, right, Dr. Sabrin?
Yeah, this is, I think, one of the biggest scandals in modern times. Asking people to get paid, asking people to work and not get paid. I mean, members of Congress always get paid, no matter.
That's right.
How
their
bad
checks,
the country is,
are there.
How much deficit spending they do, how many regulations they do, and this is another example of. Some people have argued that we have the British system in Washington today without the king.
Yeah, there are people that are going to be going out and parading around our area tomorrow saying this no kings, no kings. But the fact is, Washington, the behemoth of Washington, is in essence a king, isn't it?
Oh, there's no question about it. You look at the federal budget, Jake.
I try not to.
I mean, when you look at it, people can't relate to it because it's $7 trillion a year with a $2 trillion deficit. People don't think in those numbers. They think in hundreds or thousands of dollars or maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars if they're buying a home. But the numbers, billions and trillions, don't enter into their perspective of the world that they live in because it's so alien to their normal day-to-day affairs.
Give us something we should be thinking about today, Dr. Sabrin, with respect to celebrating 250 years of American independence. Given we don't have a lot of good news that we get from Washington, but what good news should we take away today and remember until we talk to you next Friday?
Well, I think what we have to remember is that despite everything Washington throws at us as individuals, as families, as communities, as businesses, there's still a lot of wonderful things going on because the American people are incredibly resilient. The economy is functioning relatively well, given all the taxes and regulations we have to pay. And of course, now we have the big fly in the ointment, the situation in Iran, the U.S. and Israeli attack on Iran, and how that plays out, nobody knows for sure. But the point is, every time you get war, you get more inflation. That's been the history of American conflicts since the Revolutionary War, where the Continental Congress printed up continental dollars and they became virtually worthless. So I'm not suggesting the dollar is going to become worthless, but the point is inflation may kick up to a higher gear, and that will not bode well for the American people's prosperity.
Dr. Murray Sabrin, thank you so much. Countdown to 250 every Friday at 11:33. Dr. Sabrin will be joining us from the free state of Florida to talk to us again about celebrating and taking stock in what was the great experiment, 250 years of American independence. Dr. Sabrin, thank you so much. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Friday.
You too, Jake, and have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.
God bless you. Enjoy the warm weather.
I will. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you, Dr. Sabrin. You're listening to your News Talk America. Salute the troops coming your way in just a moment. Please stay with us. And then back to DS2.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Rain showers likely this afternoon. Otherwise, cloudy skies expected. Daytime highs approaching 68. Winds out of the north, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Overcast skies again tonight. Rain showers likely. Lows level off around 33. Mainly sunny skies tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 47. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Taco of Delmarva Weather Center along the coast. Right now, 64.
Where Delmarva comes to talk, 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD.
For those of you who remember Mayberry, you might remember Goober Pyle, cousin to Gomer Pyle, the city mechanic that everyone went to when they needed work done. Techno Goober is like that. Everyone knows to go to Techno Goober when they need marketing or tech work done. They keep it simple and handle what you don't want to. Remember, Mayberry, nobody worried, everything was simple. Get a Goober, technogoober.com.
Techno Goober.
is your business solution, leading the way to grow your business this year. The answer is TechnoGuber. I'm Frank. He spent the past 10 years helping the businesses of Delmarva grow, providing websites, SEO, social media, and digital marketing. Not many companies have the experience and knowledge that our team has. It's a game changer. And if your business needs IT solutions, get the Techsperts at TechnoGuber. We can do it all and keep it simple for you. Don't worry about it. Get a goober. TechnoGuber.com.
The annual Bug and Bud Festival takes place on Saturday, April 25th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. in downtown Milford. Celebrate the arrival of spring with a full day of family-friendly activities, food, and entertainment. The festival also celebrates the anniversary of the ladybug being named Delaware's state bug, thanks to a group of second graders from Milford's Lulu Ross Elementary School in 1974. The Bug and Bud Festival is free and will take place rain or shine. For information, go to the community calendar under the Extras tab at thetalkofdelmarva.com.
Your local volunteer fire department routinely answers the call, whether it be a fire, traffic accident, or a cat stuck in a tree. But because of declines in memberships, departments have become understaffed. Your local volunteer fire department desperately needs you. Can you direct traffic, install a smoke alarm, help at a fundraiser? No matter what skills you have, you can make a difference. You don't have to fight fire to be a volunteer. Will you answer the call? For more information on how you can help, visit the Volunteer Firefighter Alliance at supportvfa.org.
To honor those men and women who have defended freedom whenever and wherever it was threatened, the Talk of Delmarva presents Salute the Troops. Troops honors the sacred memory of United States Army Specialist Michael Isaiah Nance, who died July 29, 2019, while serving during Operation Freedom Sentinel in Afghanistan at the age of 24. Nance hailed from Chicago. He was assigned to Company B, 1st Battalion, 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment, 3rd Brigade Combat Team, 82nd Airborne Division out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina. The soldier was killed by small arms fire in a reported insider attack in Afghanistan. Nance joined the Army in January 2017. He completed basic training, advanced individual training, and airborne school at Fort Benning, Georgia, before being assigned to the 1-505th PIR. He was an automatic rifleman. His awards and decorations included the Purple Heart, the Bronze Star Medal, the Army Service Ribbon, the Afghanistan Campaign Medal, the Global War on Terror Service Medal, the Combat Infantryman Badge, and the Basic Parachutist Badge. Salute the Troops honors the ultimate sacrifice in Afghanistan of United States Army Specialist Michael Isaiah Nance. If not for the soldiers' commitment to serve and defend freedom and liberty in Afghanistan, this nation could not, this nation would never have remained free. May this grateful nation never forget the name, Michael Isaiah Nance. Rest in peace, sir. For Salute the Troops, I'm Jake Smith.
As a family member or friend, you may be the first to notice when a veteran you love has been going through changes. Things like withdrawing, drinking more, or increased anger could be a sign of a larger health concern. But help is available. Listen to hundreds of inspiring stories at maketheconnection.net and learn how you can support the veterans in your life. Treatment works. Recovery is possible.
Broadcasting from the Carnegie Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Live from DS2. And a couple of things. First of all, Big Cat said in the Dial Lounge that my beard may encourage the station to change the name of the station to our flagship station is 92.7 The Beard. Everybody seems to be getting a kick out of that. And then I said, well, I'm actually going to be taking over for Doug on the Limu Emu commercials, because with my tinted glasses, my rose-colored tinted glasses, I look like just out of the 1970s, I guess. So there you go. That's that's what I said in the Dial Lounge. I'm going to be taking over for Doug in the Limu Emu commercials. Wolf said, and let me get to some of the comments, because there's some really good comments in the Dial Lounge today. Wolf said, good show. He liked the idea that I want to bring on Captain Thompson and Commander Stenstrom on together to talk about their efforts at election integrity. This is serious stuff, my friends. This is very serious. You cannot get people to believe that the bad guys stealing our elections can steal an election anytime they want and nothing can stop them. That's the reality, unless we fix this, and we're running out of time. Let's see here. Wolf said it's an excellent idea about bringing Commander Stenstrom and Captain Thompson on the program together. And isn't it interesting that 2 U.S. veterans are working towards trying to bring election integrity back to this country? U.S. veterans still in the fight. That's amazing. Let's see. Right here. Wolf says, unfortunately, bureaucrats have become the new aristocrats. It's true. And ignoble politicians think they are the new nobility. Well, let's take a look at airports, for instance. Now, John Thune, that useless you-know-what, 2 o'clock in the morning capitulated and caved to the Demcoms for what is now going to be another war in September on the Department of Homeland Security and on ICE and so forth. But let me just say this. If you're waiting online right now at an area airport, wherever you are, 4, 5, 6 hours, if Chuck Schumer walks to that airport or is dropped off by a Tahoe, which is what's going to happen, the government Tahoe is going to drop him off in front of wherever it's Dulles or perhaps Reagan Airport, which is probably going to use to fly back to LaGuardia. He will be ushered through security. He won't be waiting on any 4, 5, 6 hour security line. None of them will. How does that make you feel? And that's why the 17th Amendment, this lifetime club of the United States Senate, my friends, has to come to an end. And if we don't do it together, then, we're going to suffer together. We are suffering together. That's for sure. Producer Vanessa says, I appreciate those 250th anniversary segments. Thank you, Vanessa. I plan on doing them every Friday at 11:33. Big Cat, any truth to the rumor that in honor of Jake's beard? I read that already, didn't I? All right, so Jake, move on to the next comment. And let's see. Big Cat said, had to work today, so I didn't get to send in any questions. Good show. Thank you. I can hear the top 40 radio DJ jingle from the 70s right now. Today's top hits only at 92.7, The Beard. Boy, I didn't think this beard was going to be having that kind of an impact on our viewers. You see, you didn't know I had the beard until you watched the show at realnewstalk.com, right? Big Cat says, the frustrating part of the current administration has all the evidence of election fraud, and they're sitting on their hands. I don't think, Big Cat, they're sitting on their hands. I think they have taken some very important steps towards election integrity. Obviously, some people are being prosecuted for election fraud, voting when they were illegals and so forth. But Pam Bondi, she's got to go. We need right now a new voice and new sheriff at the Department of Justice. Pam Bondi ain't it. She's got to go. And I don't care. I don't care how many Republicans love her. Pam Bondi is not getting the job done. How many indictments? How many prison sentences? How many announcements of who's going to face the music? Pam Bondi, my friends, is just not. She's just not up to the task. Period. Again, I apologize that Jim Hoft, Gateway Pundit, was a no-show for today. That's unlike Jim. He is usually very reliable. And the fact that he didn't even get back to me via text, maybe he had an emergency or something, I don't know. But producer Dr. Tiny, otherwise known as Colonel Michelle Williams, U.S. Air Force retired, she liked the election integrity discussion on the program today, and I'm going to stay on this as much as I can. Also, the energy situation, as you know, I have been devoting on Fridays as much time as I can to talking about energy and this nation's energy situation, what we're doing, how we're doing it. I did have the opportunity to read something yesterday that it appears that the Keystone XL pipeline may not be dead after all. Another company has stepped forward with an offer to buy what has already been constructed so that they can take over the manufacture of the Keystone XL pipeline, get that done. And we're seeing, since the outbreak of the war, more focus now on the need for more pipelines and the fact that other Arab states, Gulf states in the Middle East are looking to build pipelines so they don't have to sell oil that's transported across the Strait of Hormuz, that it will just go through a pipeline. Now, obviously, those pipelines are susceptible to terrorist attacks and so forth, but getting the Keystone XL pipeline built before any DEMCOM can come in like the old plugster did and end it on day one, hour one, minute one of his presidency, I think that's important. And I think if we can do that and get that done, it will help us even further avoid having to do any type of business with our fossil fuels elsewhere. That's one of the things that our guest earlier today said with regard to our energy independence, that, yeah, we are energy independent, but we could be more energy independent. And the Keystone XL pipeline, if resurrected, would in fact help us tremendously, and help the Canadians too, to get oil that they want to move and they want to sell all over the world. And that oil from the Keystone XL pipeline would be loaded on top of ships and sent elsewhere. So it's a win-win, nevertheless. I want to address an issue that came up yesterday on the show with regard to Judge Napolitano. And I cannot believe the firestorm, but I want to address it because I think it's important, and I want you to hear my position on it. Yesterday, during Jake and the Judge, it's the segment every Thursday at 10:06, Judge Napolitano and I do on this program. Now, I may disagree with some of the things that Judge Napolitano says. We've been covering this repeatedly because Judge Napolitano looks at things with a very narrow lens. The United States Constitution, and that's it. You heard that from Captain Thompson when she was on. Election integrity, it's all about the United States Constitution with her. So yesterday, Judge Napolitano said something, and I wished him a happy Feast of the Annunciation. It was the Catholic Feast of the Annunciation yesterday. And Judge Napolitano mentioned that he believes that the Blessed Virgin Mary was a Palestinian woman. Oh my gosh, did he step in it. And I did reach out to Judge Napolitano yesterday via text. Judge Napolitano is within his right to believe what he wants to believe. I don't believe the Blessed Virgin was a Palestinian. I heard from priests yesterday. I heard from listeners. My dial producers were commenting fast and furious about what Judge Napolitano said. But here's what wasn't said, and sometimes you got to look, behind what was said. You have to take a look, maybe from peripheral vision and not central vision. Judge Napolitano is one of the most devout Roman Catholics to the Blessed Virgin Mary that I've ever met. He is. So he believes the Blessed Virgin came from Palestine. Okay. But it doesn't change the fact that he is devout to the Blessed Virgin. And that's what Judge Napolitano and I were talking about yesterday. And I stressed that during the closing moments of the show yesterday. He wasn't bad-mouthing or blaspheming the Blessed Virgin Mary. He was merely stating he believes that she came from the area which is now considered Palestine. You can't believe the response that I got. And no, I am not canceling Judge Napolitano's appearances. We learn a lot from the judge. We may agree with him. We may not. I get more email correspondence from listeners stating that they support Judge Napolitano's appearances on this show. And they may not agree with him. But at the same time, they learn a lot from him. And yes, it is all about the Constitution, not, of course, when it comes to the Blessed Virgin Mary being a Palestinian woman. But we're going to wrap it up right there. I want to thank everyone who tuned in via the stream to watch the program, listen to the program. Remember, you have a voice. Make sure your voice is heard loud and clear. Millie Triel, you're home.
Your Heritage Talk Station, 92.7 WGMD Rehoboth Beach and 98.5 WUSX Seaford. The talk of Delmarva, WGMD.
It's not a done deal. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. A plan to end the Homeland Security shutdown by funding most DHS agencies, clearing the U.S. Senate overnight.